Okay, so this is for your Flash project, and Flash is used to make a lot of animations and games and things like that, but this project is going to focus mainly on animations. If you want to learn about the scripting and how to make things interactive in Flash, you're going to want to take the digital media programming class. Anyway, so if you pop open Flash, I'm going to start here like I'm doing a new one. We are going to be working in ActionScript 3 just because if we do want to add any code in there, we would use ActionScript 3 because that's what would flow into our next class, the digital media programming class. So you're going to take that. Again, your project, because the holiday card project requires that the project be 640 by 480, the default width is 550 and height 400. So you can either change things right here, and I can type things in. And we do want to keep it in pixels. And if you want to set a background color, you can. I don't necessarily recommend background colors because if you set a background color, you are stuck with it forever. Then you have to always just put stuff on top. Now, if you didn't change your 640 by 480 when you created a new project and you want to make it that way, you're going to modify your document and change it right here. This is also another thing that works a lot in Flash. That's done in Flash are like web banners and things like that. So if you want to make a web banner, you're going to set your size to be, 900 by 100 or whatever it is you're going to make it. Okay, so I'm just going to say okay there. One of the main things that you need to know is my layout that I am working in is classic layout. When you pop yours open, a lot of times you're going to be in maybe Animator or, Essentials, and people will say, where is my toolbar? I don't see my toolbar. Well, if you reset to the classic, then you'll have all the tools that I am talking about in this particular module. So here is the white box. This is considered the stage. Anything that you draw off on the side, because you can draw off on the side, it's not going to show up in your final video, final animation. The only thing that's going to show up are the things that are inside of the white box. Whenever you draw something, anything that is on the screen has a stroke and a fill, just like when we were dealing with Illustrator. In fact, the drawing tools inside of Flash are going to be very similar to what you learned in Illustrator. So we can select our object. Actually, since this one's kind of too late for this one, I'm just going to delete that. I can go ahead, select my colors, or not. It's being a little stubborn here, isn't it? Why is it? Don't you hate it when stuff decides it's just not going to work for you here? Especially since I'm recording, that's always fun. The people in Alaska are going to think I'm crazy. I'll have to edit this part out. Oh, there we go. That would be Y alpha. My alpha was set to 0. Did you see that? I don't know why that came up as my default. But see, I can make things transparent or not transparent by using that. And it didn't change it because my fill was not selected. So my default was coming up at 0% alpha. That's how you deal with transparency in here also, as you can tell. One of the ways. Okay, so this particular, just the introduction to Flash, one of the easiest ways to learn it is just to learn how to bounce a basketball, for instance. And I'm going to bounce a basketball, what was that, into a can. So to do that, I have to draw the can into two pieces. I have to have the back of the can and the front of the can because the ball is going to bounce in front of the back and in behind the front. Right? It's got to bounce in between the two. So I'm going to use the oval tool here. And I can fill that with that. And I can also use gradient fills right here. If I select my object and I open up my color palette, which a lot of times is going to be right here, but since it's not, I'm going to open it up right here. I could also hit Alt-Shift-9 and that would pop it open. You can see right now that's showing up as a solid color. I want it as a linear gradient. Linear being kind of like up and down lines, or up and down because that is the default, but you can actually change the angle if you wish. Now this is going to recede from me, and remember that lights come towards you and darks recede. So I want the dark in the back and the lights towards me. So I'm going to go ahead and, what color should our garbage can be? How about a blue garbage can? Just kind of jumping at colors there. It's close enough. Okay. So there is the back of my can. I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to do it on a different layer because I'm going to call this back. I'm going to make a new layer. Call that front. I have to have the things on separate layers because anything that is going to be animated by itself, or I have to have something move in between or something like that, has to be on a separate layer. So I'm going to go ahead, and also a thing to notice, see how this has a black dot inside of it and this has a white dot? That's because there is something visual on this layer. There's nothing visual on this layer yet. Watch what happens when I draw. I'm going to go ahead and get my crosshairs lined up to the sides of the can here. And so now I drew, and there's something here that is black. That indicates that there is something on that layer. Now to modify this can so that it has round edges, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull my black arrow over that. Watch, see how my cursor is changing? That means I can pull. Now what's still wrong with this can? Why does it look funny? We talked about the gradients, right? I'm going to invert my gradients.
You said light colors make things look closer and dark colors make things
Right. Light colors make things look closer and dark colors recede. So if I go like that now, the can is arching towards us.
cool. Just really writing colors.
Right. Actually, it looks more like a funnel, doesn't it, because of the way I have that. I'd probably be better with a solid fill there. You can play with gradients and things to make things work out however they want. Okay, now I'm going to add another layer because I need a layer for the ball. Again, I'm just going to use a regular oval tool. And to get the tools to show up, by the way, I am holding the mouse down, and that's giving me the additional tools. If I hold down my shift, I keep my X and Y proportionate. Let's go ahead and change that to a red fill. Notice here, by clicking in different places, I can change where the highlight is. I can also get into the gradient tool that's in here under one of the layers there somewhere. And I can have a lot more control over my gradient. Anyway, so there's the ball. I can flip and see off, and I put it right there in the middle. That was handy of me. Okay, so if I wanted this to be 45 seconds long, right now it is 24 frames per second. 45 seconds long, that is like over 1,000 frames, right? It's going to be, I don't want to feel like doing the math right now, but it's a lot. But if I want this to be about 5 seconds long, it's going to be about 120 frames, I think. So I want all of these items to be on my movie for 5 seconds. So I'm going to make them 120 frames. So I'm going to right click out here and insert frames. So now it's all out there. It's weird, I don't know what that stuff is. I'll have to track that down, see what that is that's showing up. That stuff I drew and erased, and it still keeps popping up. Odd. Okay, so anyway, now nothing is actually happening. Its video is 5 seconds long. but I need to get in there and I need to make the ball move. So actually I want the ball to start off the screen. I'm going to have it bounce in. Remember I said that Flash deals with the stroke and the fill separately? You can see that because I didn't double click. I just dragged the fill, I didn't drag the stroke. That's okay, I'm just going to delete this. I could have told it I didn't want a stroke, but I just deleted the stroke and got the same effect there. Okay, so now I'm going to create a motion tween. So I right click anywhere in that gray line and create a motion tween. And it's telling me that this has to be a symbol. Remember in that funny little movie we watched where the animated creature was pulling the copy of itself? That's because he was a symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a symbol. Before I do that, actually look at my library. Right now there's nothing in there. If I create this motion tween, go ahead and create a symbol. Now in my library there's the ball. So if I make another layer, I can actually just pull out copies of this ball. Additionally, if I wanted to go in, see now I'm in scene 1, I'm in symbol 1, I can change the color of the ball to maybe green. If I go back out here to scene 1, now all of the copies of the ball are green instead of red because I changed it in the library. To delete this layer, now I just select it and I hit the garbage can and now it's gone. But I created a motion tween in here and now I have keyframes. Tweening is what animators do. Junior animators fill in between the keyframes created by the senior animators. So let's say they're drawing Mickey Mouse jumping. The senior animators are going to draw Mickey Mouse down here like this on the ground and up here like this in the air, and the junior animators are going to draw all this stuff in between. That's called tweening, and Flash does our tweening for us. You set the keyframes as the senior animator, and then Flash develops everything in the middle. So right here I have my keyframe being off, and I'm going to move this red thing here called my playback head out here to about 12, frame 12. So how many seconds long is that going to be? Half a second. Very good. Got the math down. So that's half a second into it. I'm going to drag this. I'm going to put that up there. Let's move my playback head out here to another half a second later. So I'm 1 second into my movie because I'm on frame 24 and I'm at 24 frames per second. Probably didn't need this to be that long, but that's okay. Okay, and now there it goes. If I hit Control Enter, so I have some blips there that I need to fix. See how it's cutting off the side of my can? Yeah. I'm going to move my playback head and I can see right here. But the nice thing about these lines is that I can actually bend them, just like I bent the line of the can. Plus, it's not going to be all bouncing up and down, straight up and down. So watch as I move my cursor, see how it changes as it goes over the tween line? So I can actually make these a little bit smoother by bumping that in. Now there are other things I can do here. For instance, I can squish my ball. Because typically what's going to happen as I get down here on the ground, the ball is not going to go like that, it's going to squish and it's going to rotate a little bit. So I want the ball to be a full round perfect ball about right here. Actually it's not going to start squishing till it hits the floor. So I'm going to start right here. I'll say about maybe right here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to insert a keyframe for all. And then out here, actually, when it's done, I want it to be a perfect round ball again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a keyframe right here. But now, on this particular keyframe, I can go ahead and I can use my transform tool here and I can squish it. And I can rotate it. I'm not going to rotate it all the way down. But I can rotate things if I want to out here. Like out here now, I can probably turn it and stretch it along the path a little bit. Okay.
Wow.
So you can do all kinds of things. So just for today, to kind of get a grip on the project, I'd like you to do this bouncing a ball into the can, because I think it's a good, well-rounded first assignment for you in Flash. Yeah, one other thing I want to talk about is importing sound, because your project does require you to have sound. So the way you do that is you say File, Import to Library. I have sounds here on my desktop. For instance, I went out in the Creative Commons and I got some holiday music from SoundCloud that has licensing that allows us to do some alterations and allows us to use it for professional use. So I got a sound from there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import that. So now,
Is that SoundCloud.com?
SoundCloud.com, yes. So now I imported that to the library, so there it is. So I can actually go ahead, make a layer for sound. And I can drag this out here. There's nothing visual on there, so this dot is still white. But if I test my movie, whoops. If I test my movie, now see what's going to happen there, because this clip is over the length of the movie, it's going to repeat itself. So you actually have to edit down the sound of your clip to be either 45 seconds or we need to put a stop all audio, stop all sounds clip in the end. We have Adobe Audition on all of these. If you want to edit it down, we'll show you. Okay. Right. Or it's just as easy. The other way you can use sound is to use sound effects. Like I just showed you how to dump something on for the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and import to the library. I have a grunt or something out here. So let's say I just want it to grunt when it's down here, so I can go ahead and create another layer for my sound effects. And I can go ahead and I can just put a keyframe in here. I'll probably have to adjust the location of that. But now I can go into the library and I have grunt, which I just imported, and I can drop it on there. Now see how I probably want this high point of my sound to match up with that keyframe, so I can actually drag this back.
Is the library...
We have on our M drive, we have digital sound resources.
When you import it into the library, that's just for that particular project.
Right.
So when you go to another project.
You can actually save your library and use it for multiple projects if you so choose, I believe. But that's a different ball of wax. Okay? Okay, any questions on this? Got it.